Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Joe Tafur, who is an ayahuasca expert, also runs an ayahuasca center down in Peru. And today we're going to be talking all about ayahuasca and what kind of ailments this doctor has seen this medicine heal. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you're just fresh out of the Amazon.
I'm pretty
Literally, you just
fresh.
got back
I
back
got
to the
back like
States.
3 weeks. Yeah, I went to Colombia for a couple weeks, and then I went to Miami for a week, and now I'm here. Yeah, not too long ago.
And so you're a co-founder of an ayahuasca center
Yeah,
down in Peru.
correct. Yeah, I'm co-founder of Niwe Rao Centro Espiritual. It's since 2011.
And since you opened the center, you've seen hundreds of people come from all over the world for
Yeah,
healing with ayahuasca. You've mentioned before that a lot of these people are facing certain ailments that Western medicine has just failed to heal.
yeah,
Can you explain some of those ailments
yeah.
and why you think why it's effective?
Right. As a doctor, who has experience here in family medicine and just general care of public health, and watching, what kinds of people get better, through the treatments that we have available, what kinds of people don't get better through the treatments we have available. When I say have available, I mean like by the insurance based system, like there are other treatment options out there for people, but what are people getting through their employer? And just like, let's look at this family of problems. And it's pretty wide ranging, but I would say that some of the prominent things that pique my interest are, first things related to emotional trauma and psychological trauma, um, in some cases sexual trauma, and then like related generally to those three things, you see anxiety, depression, addiction, PTSD, um, some degree of autoimmune illness is caught up in that in some cases, some degree of psychosomatic illness, whether it's that could be, things are not limited to that, but there's a psychosomatic component that may be a bigger part of certain people's experience with migraines and irritable bowel syndrome and chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and those kind of problems, even some asthma, etc.
It really points out the mind-body
It's a mind-body
connection.
connection, and so that is really, so that's what I'm really big into, is like trying to discuss, hey, you know what? We kind of have like a map of what I would call an emotional body in the physiology of the human being now, that I would say is the limbic system of the brain, which is regarded as an emotional like center in the brain that is directly wired into the autonomic nervous system, like all our automatic, functioning, digestion, breathing, heart rate, So then there's the direct connect between the way stress and affects blood pressure, hypertension or reflux, over acid production, or digestive problems, or even uh, sexual problems, sweating problems, the list goes on and on. And then that system, both of those systems, the limbic system and the autonomic nervous system, are also in direct communication with the endocrine system, the hormone systems, the thyroid and the pituitary and hypothalamus and cortisol from the adrenal glands and, all these different things, the pancreas. These certain things like we call neurotransmitters because we first discovered them in the brain and in the neurons. And then we have these hormones because we say, oh, they come from the endocrine glands. And then we say, oh, these things are from the immune system. So we call them cytokines or, inflammatory markers and stuff like that. But it turns out all the systems are actually using those molecules to communicate with each other. So it was kind of an arbitrary delineation of like, why is it we call it a hormone? Is it it's kind of like a neurotransmitter too, and this is a cytokine. So then I'm saying we're observing a network that crosses like all these organ systems that has kind of dominated a lot of the thinking. And this system, this emotional body, I'm calling it the limbic system to the autonomics to the endocrine to the immune system, is a network that like is definitely linked to all these problems that I just described. These are like neurolimbic dysfunctions, like because there's an emotional problem or there's some root that, at least part of it is like rooted in the limbic system. And so then the question is, how do you heal things that are like, let's say, are the result of pathologic imprint on the limbic system?
It's really important to get in and purge that trauma and process the trauma, because if you carry it around bottled up inside of you, it's going to manifest itself as one of these illnesses.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's, I mean, that's definitely the idea. That is the concept. And that's the traditional concept that's held in, like, I think most of the traditional medicines, whether it's Ayurveda and the chakras and, energy channels, or Chinese, meridian system, which are a big part of public healthcare in India and in China, and are becoming a part of the system here. Perhaps like tribal shamanic cultural technologies are actually more well suited to access that part of us. We've kind of been focused with all of our success of materialistic science and all this stuff to kind of like, disregard, our roots, which in fact all of us are from tribal roots, like every human being walking the earth.
So, how is it that ayahuasca actually gets inside the mind and the body and allows people to purge this trauma? Because that's definitely what it did for me when I was suffering from symptoms of post traumatic stress disorder. I just felt like it was like the key to my subconscious to unlock all these memories that I had even forgotten I remembered.
Right. It's coming from a tradition, a healthcare tradition that recognizes that purging trauma is important in your health. And so that's the thing, is like, first you have to draw from traditions that recognize and have technologies, because we don't. Like, I guess psychotherapy is like, that's one of the places to do that. But generally, like, we don't have a way to purge trauma. Like, if you come to me as a doctor here and I can recognize, that's probably related to this, and it's like, you know, well, I have 10 minutes to see you or 15 minutes to see you. Maybe I could try to do a different kind of practice, but if I'm working in like the general, like where most doctors work, I'm limited. So yeah, they're going to give them some like Prozac or something like that.
So
So
what is it about the ayahuasca? Why is it,
yeah, so that,
and other
yeah,
psychedelics that really gets into the mind and really allows you to access these memories?
we could try to like talk about the biochemistry of like the limbic system, but it's like, why that memory? Why that? Why this? Why that? That's,
It was almost, it had such an intelligence
it
to
had
it.
such an
Like
intelligence
I
to
could
it.
feel it going through my body and my mind, almost like it was searching, like what's been bothering her the most? Let's pull that up. And that's
Right.
exactly what it was able
So
to do.
that's, well, again, it's it's an integrative discussion,
Yeah.
but we have to like open our minds to the traditional side for those people. I can't expect a lot of people to believe that, and I wouldn't believe it, and I didn't believe it, but I see so many people go through it at our center. Most of them not believing it when they arrive, and then leaving with a different experience. That the Western scientific model, whatever, is asking them to dismiss.
Why is ayahuasca so effective at helping people heal depression? What does it
I
do
think
that's
that
helping these people?
I think it can be very effective in healing depression, because it is helping them heal like the root trauma, of what's underneath. Like, why, why are they so sad? What is it that they have not been able to, like they say, this embedded trauma that is stuck. And so, like you say, fear is not hell, like in the bad trip. Fear is not hell. Being stuck in fear, that's hell. So when you're stuck and you can't get out, and you're just stuck in the round and round and round and round, so that trauma, we all go through things, and a lot of things can be recontextualized. They just come back into the flow. We have it, and then somehow there's outlets, and there's ways for that to be, expressed and diffused and put back into the flow. This can help you find a way to that, like, deep part of your emotional body, your heart, all that stuff. And from that place, allow something to move and shift, the way they've been talking about it in these spiritual traditions for centuries. I mean, that's I grew up Catholic, my family's Catholic. I mean, that's a big part of the tradition. That's Carl Jung said, look at forgiveness. Like, here's where spiritual traditions are interfacing psychology. Look, forgiveness is like a concept that it's a crossover. It's a spiritual concept, like, traditionally, and now we're talking about, like, in terms of psychology. And so ayahuasca helps a lot of people do that. They're able to quiet their minds. They're able to find self-love through all that. They're able to find compassion for the people that, abused them or neglected them, or for themselves, for things that they did, decisions they made. They're able to, through compassion, find understanding. It is a tool within a context that can be very powerful. So for us, like, people are, in retreat, in nature. They're in a healing community. They have a supportive relationships all around them, and then they're also like getting this opportunity to have mystical experiences that many of them have never had.